Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take a moment and ask yourself a question. How many dreams have you buried under the weight of excuses? How many times have you said, I'll start tomorrow, only to find tomorrow turning into next week, next month, next year? Today, I want to ignite something inside of you. I want you to feel the raw truth that the only thing standing between you and your greatest potential is the chain of excuses you've been holding on to. You see, excuses are invisible, silent, but deadly. They cage you without a key. They whisper, you're not ready, you're not capable, maybe later. But let me tell you something, the moment you break free, the moment you step past the voice of fear, is the moment life starts responding to you, not the other way around. Every step you take, every action you commit to, shatters the chain a little more. Your future, the life you've imagined, the dreams you've been postponing, they not out there somewhere, waiting. They're right here, waiting for you to act. And that's the question you need to answer today. Will you continue to let excuses write your story, or will you rise, take control, and finally unleash the unstoppable force that is already inside of you? True power begins with the simple, yet often overlooked, act of taking full responsibility for your life. Many people walk through life thinking that circumstances, other people, or luck dictate their outcomes. But the moment you accept that everything you experience is a result of your own choices, a shift occurs. Responsibility is not a burden, it is freedom disguised in plain sight. When you stop blaming, stop pointing fingers, and stop making excuses, you reclaim the energy and focus that were being wasted on complaining and justifying. Every great achievement in history, every transformative life story begins with someone deciding to own their reality rather than be a victim of it. You see, excuses are comfortable because they absolve you of accountability, but they also chain you to stagnation. When you embrace responsibility, you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You become the architect of your destiny. This mindset doesn't mean ignoring obstacles or pretending challenges don't exist. It means acknowledging them fully and then asking, what can I do about it? There is tremendous power in that question because it shifts your focus from what is outside your control to what is entirely within it. Responsibility activates action. It transforms fear into clarity, indecision into momentum, and doubt into determination. The truth is, life will always present challenges, setbacks, and moments of frustration, but your response defines the trajectory of your journey. Those who thrive are not the ones who had the easiest path. They are the ones who embraced responsibility at the deepest level, who looked in the mirror and said, I am the solution, not the problem. This is the point where excuses lose their grip, because taking responsibility ignites a fire that excuses cannot withstand. You begin to see every failure as feedback, every obstacle as a lesson, and every moment as an opportunity to step into your power. Responsibility cultivates resilience, sharpens focus, and expands your confidence. It is the bedrock of self-mastery because when you own your choices, you are no longer reactive, you are proactive. You start making deliberate decisions that align with your vision instead of being pulled by circumstance or hidden fears. In essence, responsibility shifts you from a passive participant in life to an active creator. Someone who understands that while you cannot control everything that happens, you can always control your response, your effort, and your commitment to growth. It is in this ownership, this unwavering embrace of accountability, that true freedom and empowerment are born, creating a life driven not by excuses, but by deliberate, intentional action. Excuses are far more powerful than most people realize, not because they solve problems, but because they silently control lives from the shadows. They are invisible chains that wrap around your potential, limiting what you believe is possible without you even noticing. Every time you say, I can't because, or if only, you are giving away your power and handing control to fear, doubt, or circumstance. Excuses make comfort feel safe, but safety is an illusion when it costs you your dreams and your growth. The problem with excuses is that they are subtle. They disguise themselves as legitimate reasons, convincing you that they are rational or justified. Over time, these seemingly harmless justifications accumulate and form patterns that shape your life, defining where you stop, what you attempt, and how far you allow yourself to go. The harsh truth is that excuses are the primary reason most people never step into their true potential. They whisper to your mind that failure is inevitable, that the timing is never right, or that you simply aren't capable, and the more you listen, the louder they speak, until they become a comfortable companion that keeps you stagnant. Breaking free from excuses requires clarity and courage, because it means confronting the reality that the barriers you've been pointing to for years often exist only in your mind. It means looking honestly at your behaviors, decisions, and patterns, and recognizing that the only person truly holding you back is you. When you see excuses for what they are, you begin to reclaim the energy you've been giving away. That energy, once wasted on justification and avoidance, becomes fuel for action, growth, and achievement. Excuses thrive in inaction. They disappear when you take deliberate steps toward your goals, no matter how small. Every time you act despite fear, doubt, or uncertainty, you chip away at the invisible chains that have held you captive. The moment you stop excusing and start doing, your perception of what is possible expands exponentially. Life responds to those who refuse to be constrained by excuses, because they are no longer waiting for permission, ideal conditions, or perfect timing. They create momentum, and momentum destroys resistance. Understanding that excuses are nothing more than a form of self-imposed limitation shifts your perspective entirely. You realize that every excuse you leave behind opens a door to opportunity. Every action you take despite resistance builds confidence, and every risk you embrace strengthens your belief in your own capability, creating a ripple effect that reshapes not only your results, but the very way you view yourself and your potential. Action is the engine that turns intention into reality, and yet so many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect feeling to begin. They believe that thinking, planning, or preparing endlessly will somehow substitute for actual doing, but the truth is, momentum only comes when you move. Action is the catalyst that transforms dreams into tangible results, and it is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. Without it, even the clearest vision remains a fantasy, and even the strongest desire fades under the weight of inaction. The challenge is that action often requires courage, because it exposes you to uncertainty, discomfort, and the possibility of failure. But it is precisely in that discomfort where growth and transformation reside. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a declaration that you are willing to confront fear rather than let it dictate your life. Momentum builds exponentially the moment you commit to action, because each action creates feedback, learning, and confidence that propels you forward. Waiting for conditions to be perfect is an excuse disguised as prudence, but life rarely waits, and opportunities are fleeting. Those who succeed understand that imperfect action today is more valuable than perfect planning tomorrow. Action forces clarity, because when you do, you see what works, what doesn't. And where adjustments are needed. It turns abstract ideas into concrete experience and transforms hesitation into empowerment. Furthermore, action breeds resilience. Each time you act, you encounter challenges and setbacks, but every challenge becomes a teacher, every mistake a lesson, and every effort an investment in your capability. The very act of doing rewires your mindset, replacing fear and doubt with confidence and possibility. Action also inspires others, because energy is contagious. When people see someone moving decisively, taking responsibility for their results, and refusing to be paralyzed by excuses, it creates a ripple effect, motivating those around them to take their own steps forward. Importantly, action is not about reckless impulsivity. It is about deliberate, consistent steps toward your goals. It is about creating a rhythm of doing that compounds over time, producing results far greater than what thinking alone can achieve. Ultimately, action is the proof of commitment. It demonstrates to yourself and the world that you are serious about your life, serious about your dreams, and unwilling to let fear, doubt, or excuses hold you back. The moment you move, the chains of stagnation begin to break, and the possibilities that once seemed distant suddenly come within reach, because the universe responds to those who act, and the very act of doing creates the force necessary to reshape your circumstances, your mindset, and your life trajectory. Fear is the hidden force behind almost every excuse we make, quietly shaping our decisions and limiting our potential. It wears many masks: fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown, and convinces us that inaction is safer than taking a risk. The paradox is that this very fear, meant to protect us, becomes the barrier that keeps us from experiencing the life we truly desire. When you examine the excuses people tell themselves, nearly all of them can be traced back to fear in some form. It tells you that you're not ready, that you don't have enough, or that the timing isn't right, whispering just enough to stop you from stepping forward. But the reality is that fear cannot be eliminated by waiting or planning. It can only be confronted through action. Every time you act despite fear, you shrink its power and expand your courage. Fear only has authority when you allow it to dictate your choices, and excuses are the means through which it exercises that control. The moment you recognize that fear is behind every hesitation, you gain a tremendous advantage, because understanding the source of resistance gives you the ability to move past it. Fear is not a signal to retreat. It is a signal that growth is waiting on the other side. Those who achieve extraordinary results are not fearless. They simply decide that the value of action outweighs the discomfort of fear. They see fear as a compass pointing toward the experiences that will stretch them, strengthen them, and transform them. Each time you confront fear, you weaken the chains of excuses that have held you captive and strengthen your ability to respond with confidence, clarity, and determination. Moreover, confronting fear teaches you that failure is not the end, but a necessary step in the process of mastery. Every misstep, every challenge faced head-on builds resilience and reshapes your relationship with discomfort. You begin to understand that fear is temporary, but the rewards of bold action are lasting. The more you face fear, the more it loses its grip, and the more freedom you create in your life. By seeing fear as a teacher rather than an adversary, you shift your perspective from limitation to opportunity. You learn that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in spite of it. And in that willingness lies the key to breaking the cycle of excuses. Fear only controls those who let it, and every step you take through it reinforces the truth that you are capable of more than you have allowed yourself to believe, that your potential is far greater than the barriers you perceive, and that the only thing standing between you and your dreams is the choice to face fear head on. The choices you make today are the building blocks of your tomorrow, and yet so many people underestimate the power of the present moment. We convince ourselves that change can wait, that tomorrow offers a better opportunity, or that next week will finally be the right time to start. But the truth is, every delay is a decision, and every moment you postpone action is a moment you trade away your potential. Your future is not something that happens to you. It is something you create through the accumulation of small, deliberate actions taken consistently over time. Each step, no matter how seemingly insignificant, compounds into momentum that propels you toward the life you desire. Waiting for the perfect conditions or the ideal circumstances is an illusion, because life rarely aligns itself to our comfort. The most successful people understand that greatness is built in the present, not in some abstract future. They recognize that taking responsibility for today's choices, no matter how challenging, is the fastest route to shaping a future that aligns with their vision. Urgency is not born out of pressure. It is born out of understanding that every moment is a chance to inch closer to what matters most. Action in the present creates clarity, teaches resilience, and builds confidence, whereas hesitation breeds regret, stagnation, and a life half-lived. Every day you postpone what matters is a day lost, and every day you seize the moment is a step closer to the version of yourself you've always imagined. The process of taking action now also reshapes your mindset. When you commit to doing, you shift from thinking in terms of obstacles to thinking in terms of possibilities. You begin to see opportunities where before you only saw limitations. The discipline of acting today rather than tomorrow cultivates habits of consistency, focus, and accountability, all of which are essential to long-term success. Furthermore, embracing the present moment instills a sense of empowerment. You no longer wait for life to give you permission or for conditions to be perfect. Instead, you recognize that power resides in your choices, in your ability to act decisively, and in your willingness to confront fear and uncertainty head on. By valuing today as the foundation of your future, you develop a sense of urgency that fuels progress, resilience, and momentum. Each action, each decision, each deliberate step taken in the now compounds over time, creating a trajectory that shapes not just what you achieve, but who you become. proving that the difference between dreams realized and dreams deferred lies not in circumstances, talent, or luck, but in the willingness to take control of the present and harness it fully for the future you desire.